Welcome to the English podcast.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a topic that I think it's fair to say is on pretty much everyone's mind at some point, motivation. And for this deep dive, you sent us a stack of sources that was, well, let's just say it was exceptionally thin.
It really was a fascinating exercise
Mm.
in minimal input, maximum implication, you could say.
I'll say. So what we're working with here is basically an excerpt from something called Motivational Strategies.
Right. And when we say excerpts, we mean it.
We really do. So here's what we've got. The title, which is Excerpts from Motivational Strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And then right underneath it, just a single question, no intro, no context, just the words, how to get motivation.
And that's it. That is the entirety of the text we have to analyze.
So our mission today is a bit different. We don't have answers to review. Instead, we're doing a deep dive on the question itself.
Exactly. The context, the specific words used, and what it all implies by being placed at the very top of a text on strategies.
You know, I actually find the sheer directness of it really compelling. It's like the author just gets it. They know exactly why you, the listener, would even pick up a text like this. They just cut through all the fluff, all the definitions of what motivation is.
And they go straight for the jugular.
Straight for it. They ask the real question everyone has, how do I actually get this thing?
Well, let's start there. Let's unpack the power in that title first. Motivational strategies. That's our foundation. It's our first real clue.
Okay, so strategies. What does that word signal to you?
It sets a very clear expectation. When a source calls itself strategies, it's not promising you philosophy or, some deep introspective journey.
No musings on motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's explicitly promising systematic, repeatable methods. A plan.
Right, a strategy is a plan of action. So the title itself is basically a guarantee that motivation isn't some random lightning strike of inspiration.
It's the output of a defined system. That's the core promise. Motivation is something you can engineer.
So if we're speculating on what these strategies might be, we're not talking about, like, find your passion, are we?
Probably not. No, we're looking at things that are much more actionable. Think micro-habit formation, environmental design.
Or like accountability systems, maybe reward structures.
Precisely. The focus is on applying something external to create a change in your internal state.
That feels like a huge distinction. It immediately tells you to stop waiting around for motivation to hit and start planning for it.
It's a total reframe. But let's pivot to the question itself, because that's where it gets really interesting. How to get motivation?
The phrasing is so simple. No capital M, not even a question mark.
And that's revealing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels less like a carefully edited academic thesis.
And more like something you'd frantically type into a search bar at 2 in the morning.
Yes, a raw, urgent search query. It suggests the audience is looking for immediate, accessible solutions, not a philosophical debate. It bypasses all the formal language and just hits the core need.
It's the difference between asking upon what psychological tenets is intrinsic motivation based and just
How to get motivation.
Yeah. It positions the whole discussion as this open-ended hunt for a process.
And in doing that, the source establishes a kind of contract with you, the reader.
A contract? How so?
It's basically saying, look, we get it. We recognize your fundamental problem. You don't have this thing that you want.
And this document is the instruction manual for acquiring it.
Precisely. It reframes motivation not as something you either have or you don't, but as something that is demonstrably obtainable or maybe retrievable.
Since we don't have anything else to go on, the real deep dive here is figuring out why. Why would a book on strategies start with this specific question?
Because it dictates the entire shape of the content that follows. It has to.
How do you mean?
It means that every strategy in that book must be in service of answering that one question. The goal is procurement. If a strategy doesn't help you get it, then it's a failure by the source's own definition.
And that brings us to the most important word in the whole thing.
The verb.
The word get. It's how to get motivation, not how to find motivation or how to, I don't know, feel motivated.
The choice of get is so powerful because it implies a method. It implies a recipe, a series of active steps that you have to follow. It requires work.
Let me try an analogy here. If I say I need to find my car keys, that's an act of discovery. They exist somewhere. I just have to look for them.
Right. It's a search.
But if I say I need to get a new car, that's completely different. That's an act of procurement. It takes a strategy, a budget, effort, negotiation.
And according to this source's framing, motivation is the new car.
Not the lost key.
Exactly. And that shift is everything. It takes it from the realm of passive inspiration or just dumb luck.
And puts it squarely in the realm of active procurement. It makes motivation almost a commodity, something you have to work to obtain through a strategy. But okay, let me push back on that for a second. If we lean too hard into this idea that motivation is something you just get, like ordering a package online, don't we risk making it sound too simple?
That's a really critical point. What about the messiness of being human?
Right.
I mean, I agree that get implies a procedure, but doesn't framing it as just an engineering problem ignore all the deep psychological stuff? Like, what about fear of failure or perfectionism?
Yeah.
A simple strategy can't just wave that away.
And you're absolutely right, it can't. But what the source material is doing here, by using this language, is it's signaling its preferred lens. It's making a choice.
A choice to ignore the psychology.
Not to ignore it, but to focus exclusively on the behavioral intervention.
Yeah.
It's basically saying, yes, the internal struggle is real and messy, but the solution we're offering is always going to be procedural.
So the author's argument would be, instead of trying to untangle all the deep emotional roots of why you're stuck,
Right.
you just design a system so good, so robust, that it bypasses the need for huge amounts of willpower or, intense emotional resolve.
Precisely. The strategy becomes the motivation. Think of motivation not as the fuel for the car.
But as the ignition system. The strategies are the blueprints for building an ignition system that reliably starts the engine, no matter what the emotional weather is like outside.
I like that. So the strategies are just answering. What are the specific levers I need to pull to reliably get this process started?
That's it. That's the question they have to answer.
And if you look at the structure again, it all clicks in place. Motivational strategies provides the toolbox.
And the question how to get motivation is the job ticket. It's the work order.
That synthesis is the entire promise to you, the learner.
It tells you two things at once.
Yeah.
One, your lack of motivation is a solvable problem. It's not a permanent state.
And two, the solution isn't some vague self-help theory. It's applied methodology. It's a set of instructions.
And that approach completely reframes the struggle. The challenge is no longer about some, perceived character flaw or a failure of willpower on your part.
It's just about finding and running the right program.
It's about implementing the documented process. If the strategy is sound, the motivation should follow as an inevitable result.
That perspective shift is incredibly empowering if you're looking for something that actually works. You go from the frustration of just hoping you'll feel motivated
To recognizing that you just haven't initiated the correct acquisition strategy yet.
It turns your mental state into a project plan, which is, it's a huge relief in a way.
And that's the power of this source material. Even though it's barely a sentence long, it establishes a mindset where your agency is the most important thing.
Yeah.
The strategies are designed to kickstart your actions.
Which then create the feeling of motivation.
Yes. Instead of waiting for the feeling to create the action, it's all about generating momentum first.
So what are the practical implications then? If we see motivation as this commodity you have to get, it changes how you deal with failure, for one thing.
Tell me more.
Well, if you try a strategy and you still don't feel motivated, you don't have to blame yourself. You just iterate on the strategy. It's not a personal failing.
It's a process iteration.
Yes.
Yes. It shifts the accountability to the method. not to the individual's character.
So if strategy A doesn't work,
You don't conclude that you're broken. You just conclude that strategy A isn't the right one for this problem, and you move on to strategy B.
it's like debugging code.
It's a pure engineering mindset applied to self-management. And that strongly suggests that the actual content of these motivational strategies, if we had them, would be focused on highly repeatable, measurable actions.
Okay, let's try to bring this deep dive. Probably the most efficient deep dive we have ever done to a conclusion. This was a fascinating look at just 2 lines of text.
Minimal input, maximum structural insight. I enjoyed this one.
So our sources, the title Motivational Strategies, and that essential question, how to get motivation. They really do establish this powerful, highly procedural framework.
They do.
And the core takeaway, I think, for you listening is that motivation isn't being presented here as some random emotional state. It's the intended, procured result of identifiable, repeatable motivational strategies.
It's something that can be actively engineered, something that can be gotten.
Exactly. It's something you get.
And if we really take the source material at its word, that motivation is something you can in fact get. It kind of begs a final thought, doesn't it?
Go on.
Given all this procedural active language, these motivational strategies must be designed to interrupt your current state and force a change. They have to be. So the question I leave you with is this. What foundational human mechanism do you think is the single biggest obstacle these strategies are built to overcome? By framing motivation as something to be gotten, is the source primarily focused on battling the simple mechanics of procrastination? Or is it aimed at something deeper, at overcoming that initial crippling hurdle of self-doubt?
Subscribe to learn English